Can heartbreak fuel the hunger needed to transform devastation into dynasty? The sting of defeat lingers like frost on a November morning in Toronto. Game 7, World Series. The dream shattered in the cruelest fashion imaginable. For Blue Jays faithful, that gut-wrenching loss, their first Fall Classic appearance since Joe Carter's legendary walk-off in 1993, left wounds that won't heal easily. But as the cold Canadian winter settles in and fans nurse their broken hearts, whispers of hope are beginning to echo through the Rogers Center corridors. Could this offseason be the salve that soothes the pain? Could management finally deliver the reinforcements necessary to push this talented core over the championship summit? According to MLB Insider Bob Nightengale, a veteran journalist whose predictions carry significant weight throughout baseball circles, the Blue Jays are preparing for an aggressive, transformative winter. During his recent appearance on the Blue Jays Today podcast, Nightengale dropped several bombshells that have ignited excitement across the fan base. His bold forecasts suggest Toronto isn't content with merely competing. They're positioning themselves to dominate. The Kyle Tucker prophecy. Perfect fit or wishful thinking? Let's address the elephant in the room immediately. Kyle Tucker to Toronto. Nightengale didn't hedge, didn't equivocate, he declared it plainly. That was my pick. Where does Tucker land? I think Toronto, he stated with conviction. And he's not alone in this assessment. Fellow MLB authority Jeff Passan shares this prediction, adding credibility to what might otherwise seem like off-season speculation run wild. But why Tucker? Why Toronto? The answer reveals sophisticated baseball thinking that transcends simple star chasing. Tucker represents something the Blue Jays desperately need but rarely gets discussed in mainstream analysis: the perfect complementary superstar. Throughout his 8-season split between the Houston Astros and Chicago Cubs, Tucker thrived in environments where he wasn't required to be the guy. He's never needed to carry the offensive burden alone, never had to be the face of the franchise or the primary focus of opposing pitching staffs. Instead, he's flourished as the devastating second or third option, the player who punishes teams for pitching around the primary threat. I think he's a great supporting player, which I think fits perfectly in Toronto, Nightengale explained. With Vlad already there, it's perfect. Consider the strategic brilliance of this pairing. Vladimir Guerrero Jr. commands attention. His presence in the lineup forces difficult decisions from opposing managers and pitchers. Now imagine Tucker hitting behind or ahead of Vlad, a left-handed bat with elite power, exceptional plate discipline, and gold glove caliber defense. The nightmare scenario for American League pitching staffs practically writes itself. Tucker's more reserved personality also meshes ideally with Toronto's clubhouse culture. He doesn't crave the spotlight or demand to be the alpha. He simply produces, consistently, relentlessly, and at an elite level. He'd be the Robin to Guerrero's Batman, the Pippin to his Jordan, the perfect Ian to Toronto's offensive Yang. The narrative shift. Toronto AS destination. Not leverage for years, Blue Jays fans endured a painful pattern. Big-name free agents would express interest, take meetings, listen to Toronto's pitch, then ultimately sign elsewhere, having used the Blue Jays' offer as leverage to extract better deals from American teams. The reasons varied. Tax implications, border concerns, market visibility, family preferences. The result remained constant: disappointment. Nightengale believes that narrative is changing fundamentally. The recent World Series appearance, despite its heartbreaking conclusion, has altered perceptions across baseball. The chemistry this team displayed throughout their playoff run, the electric atmosphere at Rogers Center, the passionate fan base, these factors are opening free agents' minds, according to Nightengale. This shift cannot be overstated. For Toronto to compete consistently for championships, they must become a destination rather than a negotiating tool. They need players who genuinely want to wear the Blue Jays uniform, not those who view it as a fallback option. The World Series run, painful as its ending was, may have provided the credibility necessary to cross that threshold. Success breeds success. Winners attract winners. And suddenly, Toronto looks like a winner. The Bichette or Tucker dilemma. Tough choices ahead. Here's where Nightingale's predictions take an intriguing turn. He doesn't envision Toronto landing both Tucker and extending Bo Bichette. Instead, he forecasts an either-or scenario driven by financial realities and roster construction philosophy. I think they'll sign Bichette or Tucker, but not both, because they're going to spend the rest of the money on a starting pitcher, Nightengale revealed. I think signing a starting pitcher is more important to them than keeping two offensive players. This represents sophisticated roster management that prioritizes balance over star accumulation. Yes, having both Tucker and Bichette would create an offensive juggernaut. But what good is scoring 8 runs per game if your starting rotation surrenders 9? The Blue Jays experienced firsthand during the World Series how championship-caliber pitching separates contenders from champions. Bichette, a homegrown talent and fan favorite, represents continuity and loyalty. Tucker represents calculated improvement and strategic roster construction. Both paths lead toward contention, but through different philosophical approaches. Management faces a genuine dilemma, the kind that defines franchises for years to come: pitching. The missing piece of Toronto's championship puzzle, Nightingale's emphasis on starting pitching, reveals the most critical gap in Toronto's championship blueprint. While the offense proved capable of matching any team in baseball, the rotation showed vulnerabilities when facing elite competition in high-leverage situations. The Insider mentioned 2 potential avenues: Framber Valdez or one of the talented Japanese pitchers available this winter. Valdez brings proven postseason pedigree, left-handed deception, and durability. The Japanese market offers high-upside arms with electric stuff and international intrigue. Either path addresses Toronto's most glaring need. Championship teams are built around elite starting pitching. This truth remains constant across baseball history. The Blue Jays possess the offensive firepower and defensive capability. What they require is a true ace who can dominate in October, who can take the ball in Game 7 and deliver under maximum pressure. Imagine this rotation: a newly acquired ace atop the staff, supported by the existing young arms who showed flashes of brilliance throughout the season. Suddenly, Toronto transforms from offensively dangerous to comprehensively threatening. The financial commitment, ownership's moment of truth, all these predictions hinge on one fundamental question: will ownership open the vault? The Blue Jays have financial resources that rival any franchise in baseball. The Toronto market, Canada's largest city, a passionate fan base, strong corporate support, can sustain a massive payroll. But will management commit the necessary capital to transform these predictions into reality? Tucker will command a contract exceeding $300 million. A top-tier starting pitcher requires similar investment. Extending Guerrero Jr. looms on the horizon. These aren't modest expenditures. They represent franchise-altering financial commitments that will define Toronto's competitive window for the next half-decade. The World Series appearance provided ownership with something invaluable: proof of concept. They witnessed firsthand the revenue generation, the citywide excitement, the national attention that championship-caliber baseball delivers. Now, they must decide whether to capitalize on that momentum or retreat into fiscal conservatism. Nightingale's predictions suggest he believes ownership will spend. His confidence implies insider knowledge that Toronto's front office has received the green light to be aggressive. For fans still nursing World Series wounds, this represents the most encouraging signal imaginable. What success looks like. Defining the offseason victory: if Nightingale's forecasts materialize, Tucker or Bichette secured, elite starting pitcher acquired. What does that mean for Toronto's 2026 championship aspirations? It means the Blue Jays enter next season as legitimate World Series favorites. It means they've addressed their weaknesses while maintaining their strengths. It means they've demonstrated to their core players, Guerrero, Bichette, and others, that management is committed to winning now, not rebuilding or retooling. More importantly, it means they've learned from heartbreak. Game 7 losses can destroy franchises or galvanize them. The difference lies in organizational response. Do you retreat, blame circumstances, and hope for better luck? Or Do you identify deficiencies, address them aggressively, and return stronger? Nightingale's predictions suggest Toronto is choosing the latter path. They're not accepting defeat as destiny, but rather as motivation. They're not satisfied with participation, but hungry for conquest. The redemption narrative writes itself. Sports thrive on redemption stories. The team that falls short regroups, improves, and returns to claim the prize they were denied. Toronto's narrative arc is perfectly positioned for this classic trajectory. The heartbreak is fresh, the motivation is visceral, and the pathway to improvement is clear. But redemption requires action, not just intention. It demands bold decisions, financial commitment, and the courage to pursue excellence rather than settle for adequacy. If Nightingale's predictions prove accurate, the Blue Jays are preparing to author their redemption story with conviction and purpose. The winter is long in Toronto, and the memory of Game 7 will linger until spring training. But hope, genuine, substantive hope, is beginning to thaw the frozen disappointment. Tucker in right field, an ace atop the rotation, Guerrero anchoring the lineup. Suddenly, 2026 looks less like recovery and more like revenge. The Blue Jays' offseason strategy could define a generation of Toronto baseball. What moves do you think management must make to transform World Series heartbreak into championship glory? Drop your predictions in the comments below, and don't forget to smash that like button if you're excited about Toronto's championship window.